So I was approached to work on Killing Eve by Colin Ratton, who's producer on the first series, and off I went with a little mood board and had an interview and met the other people in the team. So Sally and Lee, the producers, Harry, the the director, first director, and Sally and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and we seemed to sort of hit it off and have a similar sense of humour, I suppose, which was important. And I remember talking about Eve as a character and how she'd be the sort of person who might go around with her shirt undone so her bra showed, but totally oblivious of the fact this was going on. After the interview, Colin told me that they were all laughing their heads off after I left because apparently I had my shirt had come undone, so that was quite amusing. Generally, for interviews, for television anyway, you're sent a script so you can start to get a feel for the sort of approach that you might want to use. I mean, it's a bit like a sort of taste in the head at that point, you know, and then often you go for interviews and your taste in the head doesn't at all marry up with the other people, so, you know, it doesn't work out. But on this occasion it seemed to connect. Everything's very character-based with costume design. It's not simply, you know, gorgeous clothes or something. It's always to do with trying to define the character and also the dramatic differences between the characters and how you can express that through their costume. And with Killing Eve, they had these two protagonists, female protagonists, who were so completely different from each other. So that was obviously something you could get your teeth into as a costume designer. The thing is that dramatically she's such a chameleon and she changes her persona all the time. So that also was quite appealing to sort of figure out what that was and what all these different sides could possibly be. So it was interesting to think of, you know, a very athletic look or a very masculine look or a very girly look or a very bourgeois look, you know, all these different things. There's a sequence where she's in Berlin and she comes after she kills David Haig in a club, and it just felt like at that point in the story we hadn't really seen her looking totally masculine, and that seemed to really fit with that sequence, you know, of coming in the U-Bahn and in the club, you know, and this kind of very severe thing, especially with all the other people in the club who've got all their kind of S&M stuff on. I don't think you really see that much, actually, do you, in the finished thing, but there are a lot of really quite interesting outfits in that crowd. The casting of Villanelle and Eve was completely different from what I had expected, or what you sort of got the impression from the script was completely different. I'd imagined Eve as being the blonde in a way, and being perhaps slightly overweight, and but not really caring, you know, because she's not interested in her appearance at all, as Villanelle's super kind of conscious of it. And I'd imagined Villanelle as being perhaps quite petite, dark, you know, and of course it's completely the other way around. I'd worked with Jodie Comer before on a Tudor series where she played the Queen of England, so we knew each other quite well in that way of having created costumes for her, had lots of fittings and things like that. So that was nice. So it was very relaxed, you know, and Sandra Oh, who's an extraordinarily focused actress. It was quite difficult, really, because we had to create a wardrobe for a woman who doesn't give a shit what she looks like, or even, you know, knows what she looks like, is quite tricky. And I was always concerned we hadn't really pulled it off, because the thing is that Sandra Oh herself is very petite, very elegant woman. She dresses very well, you know, in real life. And the producers were often saying to me, she still looks too elegant, she looks too smart, she looks too elegant. So I always wondered if we'd really nailed that. I mean, I was looking at references like Alice Roberts, you know, a sort of Bristol look, do you know what I mean? You couldn't really do that on Sandra. So we just had a lot of sort of Uniqlo stuff that was very crumply and just very, the sort of stuff you could just chuck in the corner of your room and then pick it out the next morning, because that's kind of how she lived. Perhaps also I should mention that in the early fitting process, during the early fitting processes with these leading characters, that Sally would come, the producer, and Phoebe would come sometimes too. So for these important things where you're beginning to, just to make sure that it's not all going off the rails or off at a tangent they don't want. So yeah, of course there was input from them as well, and also because both of them quite interested in clothes. For Villanelle's pink dress, I'd seen the dresses in Dover Street Market. I was familiar with them. And so when I read that in the script, I thought, well, that will be perfect because it's puffy, little girl, it's subversive. You can put it with boots, black underwear, it's sheer and all that. So it just seemed like the perfect thing. And also Jodie's particular subversive streak that she has. Some actors would have thought, well, I'm not wearing that, you're crazy, But she just pranced about the room in it straight away. So you could tell that she would totally be able to bring that off. The producers actually wanted her to, or suggested that she should wear it with ballet shoes. Now, I did get some ballet shoes, but I can't remember how, but we did end up wearing the black boots, which I thought was better, because it's almost a bit too much, it's too much, I thought, with the whole sort of ballet look, wanted to a bit.